Hello, everyone. My name is Denise Senyurt. I work as a commercial real estate investment advisor. Today, I'm going to talk about Washington, D.C. metro area commercial real estate market. When the pandemic started, I shared with you my insights about 3 months ago. Today, now we are coming out of our homes and businesses are opening up. I wanted to share my insights and the road information about the road ahead and how I see it. So let me start sharing my screen with you. And here we go. Yes. And yeah, we have been going through unprecedented times. Everything we know has changed in commercial real estate. Now let's dive in for details. In commercial real estate, we classify property types in 4 categories: retail, office, multifamily, and industrial. During my presentation, I will go over each one of those property types and provide you with information on current situation and also my predictions for the future. First, some good news. The great opening has begun. The US added 3.8 million jobs in the month of May, and the unemployment rate fell. The gradual reopening of the economy and the relaxation of social distancing restrictions appear to have modestly lifted the consumer confidence as the month of May ended. Despite the improvement, the virus has taken a profound toll on consumer confidence, and the future of retail market largely depends on how quickly economic activity returns. Among the major property types, Washington, D.C.'s retail sector is particularly exposed to the impacts of the coronavirus. Spending at bars and restaurants went down nearly 27% during the pandemic, and by contrast, spending at grocery stores jumped by more than 25% during the pandemic. Washington, D.C. metro area has 4.4% vacancy rate, which is lower than the US average. Even with the pandemic, it is expected to stay lower than the average US retail vacancy rate. Washingtonians want 3 things from a new retail space. First, food and eating places. Second, grocery stores. And third, health and fitness clubs. Except the grocery stores, food and eating places, bars, health and fitness clubs had hit badly during the pandemic. New guidelines regarding the required distance between clients will have a large impact on restaurant seating area sizes. Especially small-sized restaurants will have to create new ways of catering their clients, as meeting the size requirement will be very costly. The other concerns are the job losses and increase in the number of people working from home, which will have negative impact on the demand for restaurant services. That said, we can expect that the landlords shy away from once sought after restaurant, nail salon, hair salon type of tenants. Due to stay-at-home orders, landlords and tenants are debating over rent payments. If this virus is not contained and social distancing practice does not stop, we can expect bankruptcies, which will lead to higher vacancies in those retail shopping centers. Especially the shopping centers that are highly leveraged, who borrow a lot of money and might suffer from this situation deeply. If that happens, we might see those shopping centers change hands at lower prices. The other factor that used to help to boost Washington DC retail real estate market prices was the foreign investors, the funds coming from foreign investors. However, we have already seen decline in the foreign investments last year, and due to travel restrictions, foreign investment numbers are expected to further decline during the pandemic and after. That will also have a negative impact on the prices of retail centers. Weakening retail absorption and occupancy slowed rent increases and even caused negative growth last year. In fact, according to CoStar, which is a tool we use as a commercial in real estate, a database, according to them, rent growth rate dropped from 2.9% to 1.4%. Here, as for the investment, if we compare the last 6 months of sales in retail with the same term of the last year, we see that the sales volume also dropped from $402 million to $223 million in retail market. Average sales price also dropped from $300 per square feet to $281 per square feet. The average cap rate stayed the same, 6.4%. However, given everybody's now, all the landlords are kind of holding and waiting for what's going to happen in the future. So we will see more changes after this opening continues, and the landlords start seeing which businesses are staying open, which businesses went to bankruptcy, and then we will see the vacancy rates, actual vacancy rates happening. Then we will see more about the change in the cap rates and the prices. And let's have a summary of the retail businesses, retail market. In summary, we are expecting that grocery stores are still important. They might increase the space requirement actually due to 6 feet apart requirement, and also increase in e-commerce, which will require bigger storage space for the grocery stores. In fact, we expect that maybe those grocery stores, like for instance Whole Foods, when you order something from the Whole Foods, they are online. They keep those products in their local shops, stores. So those places becoming available, working in retail spaces, might be taken by the grocery stores to store those food items or the other items to service the surrounding area. Restaurants might suffer because of the 6 feet apart requirement, because it will make it very expensive for them to maintain. Catering will increase. Ghost kitchens are the new concept, which means some nowadays people renting flex spaces or industrial spaces to cook food, but they are not actually serving the clientele in the facility where they cook the food. They actually use that facility as a base to serve other kitchens, other restaurants, or serve to the online orders. Small space need will increase as restaurant owners will use it as to cook and cater. Job losses and working from home will shrink the restaurant market, and landlords will push for shorter lease terms due to repurposing and redevelopment of retail sites. A lot of landlords nowadays, when we reach out to them to rent a space, they don't want to give you longer terms because they are thinking of repurposing or developing those valuable sites. In real estate, we use the term highest and best use. Now we are seeing a change and reconsideration of those sites. If this is the highest and best use, if it's not, let's redevelop for something better. It could be mixed use or industrial space. That's what I'm seeing right now. Dispute over rent payments, bankruptcies might lead to increase in vacancies. The shopping centers highly leveraged might suffer. High vacancies might lead to lower prices and higher cap rates. Higher vacancies also expected to lead to drop in asking rents. And for the office market, let's dive into office market. The office market of Washington, D.C. metro area has already been suffering from higher vacancy before the COVID-19. With the coronavirus pandemic, negative absorption rate is expected to push the office space vacancy to 15%. It is already 13.1%. We believe that it will take a few years before office demand to pick back up to the pre-COVID-19 level. With its more than 1 million square feet lease space, WeWork seems to be the most exposed tenant in Washington, D.C. metro area. Depending on how the market reacts, co-working space companies might benefit or suffer from COVID-19 pandemic, while higher levels of hygiene standards and larger space requirements between individuals will increase the cost of maintenance of those co-working spaces. The companies who are downsizing due to COVID-19 might choose to use co-working spaces instead of leasing full-scale offices. With COVID-19 pandemic, we are also pushed into working from our homes virtually, and most of us realize that it is actually working. The number of people working from home will continue to increase. Office space absorption is directly connected with the employment levels. With the high levels of unemployment we are observing now, we can assume that the vacancy rates will increase as well. Lesser employee means lesser space to lease. This will have direct impact on the asking rent. According to CoStar, rent growth in Washington, D.C. metro area is now 0.7%. And we expect to see that rate go further lower in the coming days, in the coming months. Companies were already reducing their space requirements. COVID-19 accelerated the trend. Given the uncertainty in markets, we expect to see shorter lease terms. Landlords will try to get the tenants in, and they will be willing to accept the terms they were not willing to accept before. And as for the investment in office building, if we compare the last 6 months of the office type of property sales with the same term of the last year, we see that the sales increased from $3.1 billion to $3.6 billion. Average cap rate also increased to 7.7%. So the impacts of coronavirus haven't trickled into the office sector in Washington, D.C. metro area quite yet. In fact, Microsoft's latest announcement of expansion at the Reston Town Center also provides some positive signs, positive momentum for the area. However, the longer this pandemic continues, the more impactful it will be on both current office fundamentals and future office performance. In summary, let's go over the summary of, let's put together everything we discussed about the office space. In summary, virtual office is working. We expect downsizing. Shared offices might benefit from this. Need for collaboration and socialization will still push for demand for office space. And we are all human, and we would like to connect, and best ideas comes up when you discuss it with another colleague over a coffee in the office. I like going to office just to hang out with my co-workers. And so these are the things we'll still push for office space demand, and that's a good thing. And unemployment rates are high, job growth is very low, lesser employee in the office. That means lesser space to lease in total. We expect to see higher vacancies of like 15% in the coming years. Office space was already suffering from high vacancies. COVID-19 will accelerate this trend. B and C class buildings will suffer more, and they are actually good for now good for owner use, so you can get really good bargains in the B and C class buildings. Shorter term leases expected. Try to get the tenant in. So landlord will accept some terms they were not willing to accept before. Given the economic difficulties, tenants trying to get out of their obligations will try to sublease their space out. This will lead to increase in subleases. Demand for office spaces at remote places, suburbs might increase. Okay. Let's go over next category we are going to go over is multifamily. Washington was emerging as one of the strongest apartment markets in the country before the coronavirus pandemic. Strong renter household, a healthy job market, and costly home ownership underlined Washington's strong multifamily performance. Washington is also one of the most insulated markets in the country as its economy isn't as concentrated in high risk sectors like leisure and hospitality and energy. And it is supported by the federal government, Those demand drivers are still in place, but with this pandemic, those positive numbers are eroding by each day. According to CoStar, vacancies rising and rents are decelerating. Because of the continued supply of those multifamily type of properties and weakened demand for multifamily properties in Washington, D.C. metro area, vacancy rates is now 7%, but it is forecasted to increase to 8 to 11% in the during the downturn, and it will require quite some time to recover back to COVID-19 time terms. As for the rent growth, we see 1.2% drop in Washington, D.C. market over the last year. And you see those are the numbers we will see. And as for the investment in the multifamily building, if we compare the last 6 months multifamily property sales with the same term of last year, we see that sales volume decreased from $4.2 billion to $1.9 billion. Average cap rate is decreased to 5.6%. And sales price per unit has also dropped to $217,000 per unit. So these are the numbers for the investment figures. Cap rates also dropped a little bit. And as for all of us, when we could get into the pandemic, when this pandemic started, everybody was worried about the rent payments. But however, according to national, we have some good news. According to National Multi-Housing Council, rent collections in the month of May improved by 1.5% compared to April 2020. And looking back to May 2019 versus May 2020, rent collections are of only 1.5%. So that means that multifamily property owners are doing fine so far. And yeah, let's summarize. Let's summarize the multifamily our findings. So in summary, we expect, on negative note, we expect to see increase in vacancies up to 8 to 11% due to job losses and supply of some more multifamily type of properties into the market of Washington, D.C. We will also see increase in vacancies due to decrease in foreign students coming to Washington, D.C. or foreign visitors due to travel restrictions. Also, we will see increase due to increase in unemployment. We will see more house sharing, and children might return to their parents' home. That will also might decrease the demand for apartments, and considerable decrease in deals due to uncertainty in financing and economic conditions. Luxury market will be hit the most. Financing difficulty, underwriters having difficulty to price out the risk, and because the price for the underwriters to compare the value of property, they have to have a database of prices. However, you cannot compare the price of your property now with the price happened before the COVID-19 because dynamics has changed. Okay, so in terms of if we talk something about the positive, on the positive side, we don't see not much of a change in rental rates if the markets recover quickly, as long as federal government and health and defense contracts are funded. We might be okay. We see little to no sign of delinquencies in rent payments. We expect the cap rates decrease and the prices will increase in the multifamily market. Downsizing might lead to increase in demand for apartment buildings. And next topic we are going to talk about is industrial properties. Industrial properties, prior to the pandemic, the availability of industrial space in the Washington, D.C. metro area witnessed some tightening, especially in Northern Virginia. With much of the investments focused on life science and cloud computing companies, commercial investors concentrated on acquiring data center and R&D assets, and that caused 2019 outpaced the previous year's sales volume. With vacancies trending below the national rate, the DC metro logistic market had been driven by distribution centers, with the bulk of demand coming from retailers and third-party logistics. These companies' main objective is to be near major population centers within the metro and in brick-and-mortar locations. Given the demand shift to online shopping due to COVID-19, demand for distribution centers are expected to increase at larger levels. The other industrial space consumer in metro area are the tech companies, with demand for data centers. Data centers in Loudoun County right now host approximately 70% of world internet traffic. With people confined at their homes, we expect to see considerable increase in data centers and consequently demand for industrial spaces. So in terms of market rent for the industrial properties, with the expected new deliveries in 2020, industrial space rents are not expected to change considerably in general. However, with the expected bankruptcies of small and medium-sized companies, we might expect the higher vacancies in the flex spaces, and that will also have a impact on the rental rates of the flex space. And in terms of investment, As for the investment in industrial properties, if we compare the last 6 months of the industrial sales with the same sales of the this year, the $461 million sales happened last year of the first 6 months, and this year it dropped to $414 million. Cap rate also dropped to 6.6%, and the discrepancy between the sale and asking price has widened. That shows that the buyer and seller expectations are different, and they are finding a difficult time to reach at a certain level, and buyers trying to buy it at a lower price while sellers are trying to sell it at a higher price. So it will take some time to settle the market. And as for the summary of the industrial space, let's go over what we find and what we are expecting for the future. Demand for industrial space will continue to increase. Increase in online shopping will increase the demand for storage. Logistics space, we might also use some of the some of the extra retail space as storage and repurpose the retail spaces for logistic needs. Demand for flex space might drop due to small spaces will suffer from COVID-19 because they will probably go, some of them will go on bankrupt, and then they have to vacate the space. This will have a negative impact on the prices and also on the vacancies and the rental values of the flex spaces. And rent will stay stable and sales prices continue to increase. And in total, if I have a suggestion for you, out of all, we say that we will see acceleration of pre-existing trend. Changes and trends we have seen before the COVID-19 will accelerate with this crisis. In other words, the ones which are already healthy will be healthier, like industrial and multifamily. The ones suffering with will suffer more, and like retail and office space. Out of all those property types, industrial and multifamily seems to be the potential winners. Retail, office, hospitality, manufactured homes, affordable housing seems to be the potential. Retail, office, and hospitality seems to be the potential losers, and the industrial, multifamily, affordable housing, and manufacturing seems to be the potential winners. Winner property subtypes will be self-storage, manufactured homes, grocery store anchored malls are considered as a winner sub-property types. Financing is getting tight. This is as good as it gets in terms of financing. Underwriters having difficult time to price the risk. So this is a buyer's market, but just don't sit and wait too much. Due to lack of financing, you might miss the opportunities. And yeah, that's the end of my presentation. And again, my name is Denise Sanyurt. With this presentation, I wanted to share with you my insights about the Washington, D.C. real estate market while we are coming out of the shutdown. And I hope this presentation will help you make better decisions. If you need further assistance or have questions about your property or the local market you are in, my name is Denise Sanyurt. You may reach me at 571-271-6604. Again, this is Denise Sanyurt, and you may reach me at 571-271-6604. I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you. Bye. And I will stop my screen. And thank you so much, and meeting.